Welcome to the Awesome Marriage Podcast. We are so glad that you're joining us here today. I'm in the studio with Dr. Kim, and we are going to be talking about prayer in marriage, the do's and the don'ts. Prayer is an incredibly powerful habit for a marriage, and it can be so simple to do. But the reality is that most couples are not making prayer a regular part of their marriage. So, we're going to talk about where the breakdown is. It's simple, but it's not happening. We know it's not easy just because it's simple. So, we're going to talk about how to practically overcome the obstacles that will keep you from praying together so that you can make prayer a regular part of your marriage. So, Dr. Kim, let's start with some of the stats. What does the data tell us about how prayer impacts a marriage?
The Religious Research Association, they say that couples that daily pray together have a divorce rate statistic of less than 1%.
Wow.
And I don't know what our national rate is now, but it always teetered around 40, 50%. So what does it tell us? I mean, I think it tells us that people that, well, one, when you're praying together, you're putting God first, putting him into your marriage. That's where he wants to be. And when you do that, I think it knits you closer together and to him. I think it helps you value your marriage more. I think, I know I can remember times that Nancy and I would have an argument, and then it was time to go to bed and pray, and it was like, oh, I don't want to do this, but we did. I think almost every time. We probably didn't hold hands those times because, but we'd pray. But afterwards, it's like, how do you, okay, we need to resolve this or let go of it, and so I think it just helps let God build into your marriage what he wants to build into it. And I think you have to accept it first and know that his plan for your marriage is better than anything either one of you have, separate or together. And so I think it just shows that putting God first and praying daily together makes a difference. And we've talked over and over how that's changed our marriage from day one. And I think if anytime someone asks us what's the main thing that's changed our marriage or been for marriage, is praying together, without a doubt. And through that, other things God has done and helped. So, yeah.
That's huge. And that stat, it never ceases to amaze me because, we have like you said, the national average divorce rate. It's been around 40, 50%, and it's not different in the church. In the church, it's the same number, except for those couples that pray together every day. It's a huge difference. I mean, huge.
It's so interesting. And there's another one that goes along with it of, if you read the Bible together, and I think now with YouVersion reading plans, we have so many reading plans. It's really easy to do that too. And I think that just is another kind of the icing on the cake. Okay, we're praying together. We're reading the Bible together. We're going through a plan together. We're looking at a verse and how it applies to us in our marriage. It just shows me that what God says about marriage and what he wants marriages to be is true. And all we have to do is invite him in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's the creator of it. He's the creator of us. And when we put that where it belongs, right in the middle of the marriage, it really does change things. It's so affirming.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so good. So, okay, so the stats tell us pretty clearly, gives a pretty clear picture of the power of prayer. What about your counseling experience? What does that tell you? Are most couples doing this? Are they praying together?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. But
and some couples will say, yeah, we did that, or we tried that, or, and I get it, because I do think that's probably one of the main things the enemy does not want a couple to do. And so there's going to be distractions that the enemy's going to throw at us. And so I think that's a lot of it. Sometimes I think couples feel awkward in praying. They feel like they don't know how to pray. All those kind of things that get into it. Years maybe before ago, that I was speaking to a group of about 40 pastors and their wives. And one of the things I talked about it is prayer and how important that is together. And I said, how many of you pray together? Well, I just thought every hand was going to go up. There was not one single hand that went up. And I had one of the wives that I knew come to me afterwards and said, thank you for bringing that up. It's something we all want so badly in our marriages. So I tell you that not to put those pastors in a bad light, but to let you know how difficult it is to do that.
Yeah.
Even if that's your vocation, know? And so realizing that you have to be very, very intentional about it, that you have to commit to do that together. And knowing that the enemy doesn't want you to do that. He hates your marriage. I mean, I think that's a reality that we have to realize. He can deceive us, and knowing that he really doesn't want your marriage to work.
No,
And
that's true.
so, and it's one thing that I see is go back to counseling. When I can get a couple to consistently pray together, the counseling process goes faster. The marriage gets better. God sometimes surfaces things they still need to deal with, but he's there to help us deal with them. And it makes a difference. It's such a valuable thing. And I think so often we don't take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to work it into your routine. You just
Yeah.
got to. You got to find that time, whether it's in the morning, evening, I don't care when it is, but just so that when that clock hits that time, it's like, oh, prayer time.
Yeah.
Where it just becomes like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. Okay, this is when I do. This is when we do this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. It's a little taste of the good old habit stacking, which is one of,
Yes,
I think, the most powerful ways. Like, okay, we're going to bed, turn off the light, let's pray together. That's the new
absolutely.
habit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So let's talk about where this gets too complicated, where it breaks down. Like, what are some of the don'ts? What are the things you see not working? What's your first one for us?
Yeah, I think that not staying at the comfort level of your spouse.
Okay.
And I think there's different ways to pray. And so I think sometimes we may have a picture of what prayer should look like in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your spouse really may not be comfortable with that. They really may not be comfortable with praying out loud. They may not be comfortable. And so I think you start whatever you're comfortable with. Nancy and I started with saying the Lord's Prayer. We both had grown up with it. We knew it. We said that together. And then we'd usually share things that we wanted to pray about. And we usually pray silently for those things. And so, and it wasn't like we had this ladder we were trying to go up. Okay, now we got to pray out loud or this or that. No, but it kind of, I think at some point we began to add a few things in like that. But whatever it is, I have couples, I say, okay, just hold hands, pray silently. To talk about what you're going to pray silently together.
Yeah.
That's okay. God's going to hear you.
Yeah.
He doesn't care if you're laying down or standing up or on your head or what you're doing, but he's going to hear that. And so I think really just don't force praying together in a certain way.
Yeah.
Figure out what works for you now. And then maybe 6 months you say, hey, how are we doing with this? Do you want to change anything? Do you want to add anything? If you do or don't, that's fine. But don't make it where it's like a competition or where it's like, we've got this goal out here we got to. Now, the goal is to daily pray to God, period, together. However you do that.
Yeah, that's really good. Because I think, when you said don't make it a competition, it sounds funny to say, but I know that's one reason people do not like to pray aloud in a group, in a Bible study, or wherever you are at Sunday school. People feel like there's some sort of standard, some way you have to do it right. And so when you think about kind of that pressure that some people feel, it's like, take that away. Just take that off, pray silently if that is what will help you do it, because we're just so quick to add on things that Jesus never told us to add on to prayer.
No. We see somebody, I've been in groups where the person prayed and it's like they were mimicking their pastor completely, or something like that, and that's great for your pastor, but you're not your pastor. Just pray from your heart. And I do think there's some barriers there for a lot of us. I used to be scared to death that someone would call on me to pray out loud, especially in that little church we talked about in another episode.
Yeah.
When the pastor got me involved in things, and he always somebody pray at the end, and it was like I was in school not wanting to get called on. I'd be like hiding, but he called on me, and so, and I have no idea what I said the first time because it is hard. But we're talking about not praying in a meeting or in front of a group. We're talking about praying in the persons you've chosen to spend your life with. And so, but you don't have to pray out loud if you don't want to. It's okay. Just pray. And you'll see God show up anyway. He doesn't have a checklist there. I'm not getting into that prayer. Nobody spoke out loud, whatever. No, it's not that way at all.
And he knows too that a lot of times when we pray silently in our heads, our thoughts will wander a little bit. He's seen that before with every single person who's ever tried to pray silently. And so don't let that discourage you either. He knows how we work as humans. He created us.
We all can get distracted. This is probably 10 years into marriage. Nancy was in some Bible studies, and she's always been in Bible studies, and they're great. But her prayers were getting longer. And so I fell asleep a few times, honestly. It was just like, she'd go, did you fall asleep? Of course I said no, but she knew I did.
She knew.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah. So Dr. Kim's been there. We've all been there.
Yep. Exactly.
That's good. That's good. So just stay at the comfort level of your spouse. What is your second thing that we need to not do?
Yeah. And I don't use your prayer as a weapon. Don't use it as passive aggressive. Don't say, Lord, help my husband to not be so lazy,
Oh, man.
or Lord, help my wife to spend more time putting on her makeup. I mean,
Wow. Yeah. Don't do
don't
that.
get those little backdoor things. And, well, I said it in prayer. No. I mean, and so, don't use that as a way to get in this message that you want to get to your spouse. It's pray instead, God, make him into the person you created him to be. Make her into the person you created her to be. Help use me in whatever it is way that you want to help me help my spouse get there. Those are good prayers. But no, and I've had people tell me what their spouses prayed for, and counseling, and you think, well, that's not very good.
Yeah.
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 It was just very, and it made them not want to pray with their spouse. It made them feel like that, they were just, it was God and my spouse standing there, and they're both judging me,
Yeah.
Well, that's not the way it is.
Yeah.
And shouldn't be.
Wow. That's a good one. Because as soon as you said that, I thought, well, gosh, if that would happen, I would never want to get in a habit of praying if that's how it's going to be,
If Brian listed all the things you
Oh my
need to be
gosh.
doing as a mother, God help her do
Right.
this, this, and this,
Yeah.
Under the guise of prayer. Well, I'm just trying to encourage you. No, you're giving me this
Right.
checklist because you
Yeah.
don't think I'm being a good
Oh,
mom
man.
or
Yeah.
wife. So no.
Yeah. I would be hiding anytime it was prayer time if
Yes.
that's what it looked like. That's great. That's
Exactly.
a great one to avoid. And I think it's really important too that you said what to do instead. It was just to pray that God would shape your spouse to be how
Absolutely.
he wants them, not just how you want them to be.
Yeah, I think Nancy and I both wanted God to make each of us into the person we wanted the other to be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And, this mold that we're trying to shove the person into, and just like, if that ever get in here, everything would be great. But then finally realizing my plan for Nancy is nothing compared to what God has planned for her and what he wants for her. And the same for me.
And I feel like that's a really great benefit of praying together. Something you can't really measure, but if you're going to pray together, you're going to have to come face to face with that reality that you're asking for God's will to be done, not your own. And so it's kind of forcing both of you to kind of take your hands off and ask for God to take the wheel.
Which is a big step. And and once you get there, oh my gosh, there's so much freedom in that.
Yeah.
I don't know why I put it on myself that it was my responsibility to make her into who she needed to be.
Yeah.
She would have created a monster or something.
I mean, it's funny because you can joke about it now, and it's like it sounds a little ridiculous, but we've all been there. We've all been there. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So, is there anything else that couples don't need to do when they pray together?
One thing I think is important. I think there's got to be a confidentiality there. If you're really going to pray together and you're going to be vulnerable with each other or work toward that at time, that's got to be confidential. That the things shared between the two of you in prayer are private. And if something happens that you think, I think it'd really help my friend if I shared that, can I share that? Fine, ask permission. But otherwise, keep those things confidential. Because I don't want us to pray about something. Nancy tells her friend, I have lunch with that friend's husband, and he says, hey, I heard you blah, blah, blah. Where'd you hear that? Well,
wow.
It's like Nancy told her. I'm thinking, no.
Yeah.
That again would just kind of close the door of, well, I'm not going to share on that level of vulnerability again. And then you can start thinking that becomes a trust issue. Well, don't let those things happen. Make it between the two of you and make it confidential. Keep it confidential. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. So keeping things confidential between your spouse and just respecting that they're sharing with you in vulnerability. It doesn't mean they're going to share with everybody.
Well, and you're praying to God, so trust God with it.
Yeah.
You don't have to get Mary and Susan and Jackie all involved to make it happen. No, just trust God because it's between the two of you and God.
That's a great word that doesn't apply only to marriage. Dr. Kim, you've probably never been in a women's Bible study, but there can be some definitely gossipy prayer requests that happen. Pray for so-and-so. She's really struggling, and it's a real thing and it can be dark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pray for Jenny Lou. Bill had an affair,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he's still, well, you all probably know who she is. She
Right,
works down here
exactly.
at
Yeah.
the 7-Eleven, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Yeah.
that's gossip. I think it's interesting because Nancy and I have talked about that. That seems to happen a lot more in women's prayer groups than it does men's. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's just the way we're wired. I don't remember that ever happening with me in praying with other men,
Mm-hmm.
but
And I
it
think
could
as a
happen.
woman, it could be discouraging if you've seen it happen and you thought, what is going on here? That's not what I thought what this group is about. I've had times where I kind of lost faith and like, is it even possible to have a group that's not like that? It is. You can try again and it could be better, but
Yeah,
it's,
just define it. If you want a gossip
Mhm.
group, get a bunch of people together and play
Right.
bridge or mahjong, and
Yeah.
great, this is our gossip group. But if
Sure.
it's prayer, it is prayer and it's confidential
Yeah.
and it honors God. And I think
Mhm.
that's a good filter is this honoring God that I'm doing it this way?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it's different if you say, there's a person I don't feel comfortable talking about it.
Mhm.
Can we just pray for this person in general? Because I
Mhm.
think they need our prayers.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah,
you have
that's
to
good.
do. You don't have to give the details.
Yeah.
God knows who you're talking about and thinking about. It's not
He
like
does.
he's up there going, "Oh man, let me look through my contacts. I'm not sure who she,
My
who
contacts.
she meant."
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so funny. Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. That's good. Well, so let's turn over now to the do's. Let's give us a little playbook here. What do couples need to do?
I think it does. Kind of we mentioned earlier. You got to have that consistent time and place. You've
Mm-hmm.
got to decide together what works best for both of you. There's some people that one maybe goes to go to bed at different times, and
Mm-hmm.
so evening didn't work. I did have one couple though that they would pray together, and then he would usually stay up and do some reading or stuff like that. But they would go pray together, go to bed that way, and then he would get up and do what he needed to do. I mean, just find something when you're going to do it, make it
Mm-hmm.
consistent, make it a routine, make it a sustainable habit that you have built into your marriage
Mm-hmm.
to the point that if you don't, you feel kind of naked.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like if I don't have my quiet time in the morning, I just feel like something's missing the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get that same kind of feeling with your spouse and with prayer
Mm-hmm.
is that if you miss it, you notice that you miss it.
Yeah.
And it takes time to build that in. But when you get there, it's like then it really is a habit that you value and you see
Mm-hmm.
the difference in, and you do feel like it makes a difference. And so you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, that's good.
And the other thing, if you miss one night, don't miss two. I think that's
Sure.
a
Yeah.
thing to always do. Don't punish yourself. Oh my gosh, here we go again. We missed Wednesday
Yeah.
night. Okay, start again Thursday night.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, if you've missed one, you're not off the train. You can just
No,
hop back on. Yeah.
no, you don't have to pray twice the next day.
Right, right.
It's
Yeah.
like yes.
Yes, me and my Bible in a year reading plan where I'm like, "Oh no, now I have to do 2 days in 1 day because"
Oh, I don't ever like getting behind on
No,
read through the Bible in your plan because
no. It's a lot. It's a lot to
well,
keep
it
track
is,
of.
and I'd feel like, well, I don't get as much out of it because I'm just trying to
Yeah.
get through it now.
Yes. I just went ahead and embraced my Bible in a year. It's actually a Bible in 2 years plan is what
There
I'm
you
doing.
go.
But I've taken some, I hop off every now and then to do an Advent plan or,
Yeah,
so
yeah, and
so just letting it be what
exactly.
it
Don't
is.
be legalistic about anything.
Yeah.
Yes, you're doing the Christmas story in March because you
Right.
did.
Still
It's
reading it.
okay.
Yes. Okay. Well, that was more of a me problem, but I'm sure somebody else has been there. Let's talk about
Oh
what else
yeah,
a couple does need to do with their prayer life.
I think the more specific you can get in your prayers of what you want, need from the Lord is really good, and more about not just general requests. Help us have a good day, but maybe it's Lord, I know Tom has this meeting today. I know how important it is to him. Just be with him and give him peace about this and just help his words to honor you and for this to be successful. I mean, sure you can pray in general, but I think when you get specific about that, when
Mm-hmm.
Nancy's prays specific things for me, I think it makes a difference for
Mm-hmm.
me. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it, and then when I'm in that situation that she prayed for, I feel that presence of God for
Mm-hmm.
sure. And so be specific situations, challenges, hopes for your marriage and family. Just, God, we're not doing a great job communicating with our teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And we think we've probably done some things wrong here. Will you guide us and help us restore that communication
Mm-hmm.
and guide us in the steps we need to do? And so he may bring to mind somebody that he wants you to talk to that's been through this. He may have a book that just pops up that you think, oh, I bet this will help, or something, just be specific about it. So I think that's good. Pray general at times, sure, but being specific, I think, is really powerful. And I think it goes back to, now it's probably been 15 years when Nancy and I picked 3 things to pray about in January that we knew had to be miracles. They would not happen without God's intervention. By August, all of them had happened. It was so
amazing.
Cool. It was so
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's really good. And I think too, there's something really cool about being able to be that honest with God together, where there's definitely an intimacy there where I think sometimes I don't want to pray specifically because if I'm asking God specifically for what's on my heart, then I feel a little bit more at risk if he doesn't answer the way I want to.
Yes.
I can be discouraged about praying specifically because I don't want to be let down. But if we're sharing that with him, he already knows. And then we're sharing it with our spouse. And so we have a chance to know them on that level too.
No, I think that's really good. Yeah. And it's, I think sometimes the prayers that our kids ask us to pray, like heal Mary's turtle. Well,
yeah.
Mary's turtle was healed. It's kind of like the faith of a child. It's amazing to me. And some of those prayers, how God just honors it. You think he didn't care about that turtle. And then all of a sudden your kid comes home from school. Mary's turtle's okay. Or whatever. And you're going, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah. So pray for the turtle, pray for whatever it is, the miracle.
Right. And I think you're teaching, your kids how to pray. Certainly we, as our kids got a little older, we would involve them in prayer first. Then we'd put them in bed and we'd come back and pray together. But that was really cool. And we did end up praying for a lot of really funny things that just were important to them in their little world at that time. And, we prayed for so many people's grandparents and this and that, different things. And but I think it got them in that pattern of going to God, not holding back, just praying from your heart to the Lord. Yeah. And I think that's carried through for both of them in their lives. Yeah.
That's so good. What else is on your list of do's?
I think knowing that there's not a right or wrong way to pray. I think don't compare yourself to other couples at all, just because, just don't. This is between you, and you're unique. Nobody has a marriage like you. There's never been a marriage or will be one like yours. Yours is unique. Don't compare yourself to other couples. If you get to go vulnerable prayer together, that's great. But if you don't, that's fine too. In other words, don't look at this as like this is a stepping stone and we go up and up and up to where whatever. No, just know God wants to hear from you. He wants to be from you. He wants to be in the center of your marriage every day because that's where he belongs. And so I think remembering those things, not complicating it. Jesus talked about the prayers of children and bring the children to me. And I think it's that simplicity he was trying to show us that he values. He listens to. We don't have to make it some big complicated thing. And sometimes I think we do.
No, that's so true. Yeah, that's really, really good. Yeah. And that's a really easy way to make it doable is to not complicate it.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover, either do's or don'ts?
I think it covers the main things and just have a freedom with it. When I write, sometimes like I'm writing a new book and I know what my outline is, but I'm not really sure where each chapter is going. And so I just write. And there's a freedom in that. And I think it's the same thing with prayer. Just pray from your heart. Just let things flow, let them come. And that God is, like you said, or he knows it all anyway. It's not like, well, I'm not going to pray for that because what will God think? Well, he already knows. Yeah. And you can pray for it. And there's so much value of speaking things out in prayer that maybe, and we all can't do that at one time, but the times that you do, it just kind of diffuses it. It does for me. It seemed so big in my mind. And then I said it out loud, prayed about it. It was like, God can handle this.
Yeah. Yes. No, absolutely. That's so good. Well, this has been a really helpful conversation unpacking the do's and don'ts of praying together in marriage. Do you have any final piece of advice for our listeners today?
If you're not, give it a try, but commit to talk about it together. work on it together. Don't set yourself up for failure. Don't pick a time that's not going to work consistently. Some things like that. Talk about how you want that to look. Hey, let's just write down 3 things we want to pray for, and we'll pray silently and hold hands together. Get your game plan. Then maybe every 6 months you kind of look at it and say, okay, you want to keep doing this, and we do anything or not? Not that you have to, but take that first step. And if you are doing it, don't let the enemy get in the way of you continuing to do that. There's a lot of times I think the enemy tried to knock us off. By the time he did some of that I remember, it was already such a part of our marriage. It's like, we're not giving this up.
Yeah.
You're not going to do this to us. So if you're doing it, keep doing it. If you're not, just try it for 6 months. Just for 6 months. Pray every day together for 6 months. Then let us know what happens. I'll guarantee you will see God show up.
No, that's so good. Yeah, that's so good. So after you've tried it and, about 6 months, let's get some emails. Go ahead and email us at info@awesomemarriage.com, because we've always got the inbox open for you and we'll respond. We love hearing from you. And I feel like this is kind of one of those conversations like tithing, Dr. Kim. We've talked about this before, where I've heard a pastor say, if you try it and you want your money back afterwards, I will literally refund your money, because that's how powerful this practice is. It's like that. You're not going to want your money back. You're not going to want your time back. You're going to see change in your life that's so worth it.
Oh yeah. You will not, you can just stretch out your Netflix series another day or something.
Yeah, it'll be there.
It'll be there.
It will be there.
And I love Netflix. I'm not putting Netflix down.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this has been a great conversation about the power of prayer in marriage and how to make it real and accessible in your life. Thanks so much for spending time with us today. Wherever you're listening, make sure you look below the podcast to find today's show notes. And that's where you can find all of our resources. We will link our resources on prayer. We've got a lot of great stuff for you. Kind of runs the gamut from some resources for donation, resources that are free, and we've got some YouVersion reading plans about growing your spiritual intimacy, being with God together. We've got a lot there. So just check the show notes today for links to all of those practical resources, because we are here to help you make this practical. Thanks so much for spending time with us today. Have a great day and do something awesome for your marriage today.